Willowbrook, and everything that happened behind closed doors. 380 spacious acres of grass and trees that hid a horror in American history. Behind these doors, the mistreatment of those with special needs was happening every day. But who knew these things were going on? No one, because Willowbrook's doors hid the horrors. Originally to be used to facilitate mentally retarded men, women, and children in 1942, it was not used for its original purpose until 1947. During this 5-year period, it was used as an army hospital. Once used to heal those who were injured, was now used to injure those with disabilities. During this time period, there was little to no understanding of mental health and special education. No public schools held the accommodations and modifications that those with special needs acquired. Therefore, families who were unable to care for their children with disabilities thought that Willowbrook was the best and only option. However, they were wrong, but they were also unaware of the horrible treatment that was present inside. Willowbrook, being the largest institution for the mentally retarded in the world, was often compared to Nazi death camps. This was because patients' heads were swollen and their bodies were twisted and bent. Their eyes tended to roll into the back of their heads. They were naked or wore little to no clothing. But most of all, they smelled like death. These individuals were mistreated mainly because of staff issues. Willowbrook, already extremely understaffed, had many budget cuts, which caused them to drop an additional 600 employees in a 3-year time span. Because little attention was paid to each individual patient, within 6 months of arriving at the facility, 100% of its residents suffered from pneumonia or parasites. Word about Willowbrook started to come out in 1972, when Dr. Michael Wilkins was fired from Willowbrook State School. Prior to this firing, the public really only knew that Willowbrook housed over 5,000 mentally retarded men, women, and children. They were unaware of the conditions, but Gernaldo Riviera was the one who exposed Willowbrook's conditions to the world. Gernaldo Riviera was a news reporter for ABC News at the time. He became very interested in Willowbrook when he noticed many firings happening with their staff, so he decided to take it into his own hands and explore this topic. He took his crew to a local diner right by Willowbrook, and he snuck onto the property in order to get his news report. Dr. Michael Wilkins, who was previously fired from Willowbrook, still obtained the key to B Ward Building Number 6 of Willowbrook. Once he was contacted with Gernaldo Riviera, they were able to both enter the building again, so Gernaldo Riviera could expose Willowbrook to the world. This picture was the first thing that Riviera saw when he entered Willowbrook for the first time. He described it as, "I looked down to steady myself, and I saw a freak, a grotesque outline of a person, lying under the sink on an incredible filthy floor in an incredible filthy bathroom. It was wearing trousers, but they were pulled down around the ankles. It was skinny. It was twisted. It was lying on its own feces. It wasn't alone. Sitting next to this thing was another freak. In a parody of human emotions, they were holding hands. They were making the noise. It was a wailing sound that I still, to this day, will never forget. I said out loud, to no one in particular, 'My God, they're children.' Dr. Wilkins looked at me and said, 'Welcome to Willowbrook.'" Proceeding further into the building, Riviera was exposed to the conditions that these individuals were facing on a day-to-day basis. He saw different individuals and how their disabilities affected them and how they were being not treated properly. After leaving Willowbrook that day, Riviera and his crew quickly edited the footage they received in order to make the 6 o'clock news. This is the first time that Willowbrook would be exposed to the world. After the airing of the Willowbrook special, phones were ringing all over the office and to Willowbrook. One of these phone calls was Dr. Jack Hammond. He was the head of Willowbrook, and he asked if Riviera would come back the next day and properly take footage of Willowbrook for those to see. When Riviera returned to Willowbrook on the second day, Dr. Jack Hammond gave him a personal tour. At this time, he entered corridors which held fully clothed patients who looked like they were learning in a school setting. However, that was all a show just for the cameras, and Riviera knew what was really happening at Willowbrook. Riviera exposing Willowbrook to the world caused parents' heads to turn, and they immediately wanted change for their children. Willowbrook was later renamed to the Staten Island Developmental Center in 1974 and was officially announced to be closed by New York State in 1983. In 1986, there were only 250 residents still living at Willowbrook, or the name changed to Staten Island Developmental Center. The last children finally left Willowbrook on September 17, 1987. Grinaldo's Riviera's book about Willowbrook and a documentary called 25 Years After Willowbrook have all still opened our eyes to how special needs children were treated. We all know how it was, and we all know how it shall never be that bad again. Willowbrook will always be a dark time in American history, but we can use our past to realize what we want in the future and how education can be equal for all.